Get in on the secret. September is one of the best times to visit the Boardwalk Plaza Hotel in Rehoboth Beach. The weather is grand, and just steps from the sand, you can relax and experience the convenience of their oceanfront location right on the Rehoboth Beach Boardwalk. Enjoy Victoria's Restaurant, the charming Plaza Pub and room service. Visit boardwalkplaza.com and book your perfect getaway today, or call 800-33-BEACH for fast, friendly assistance. Thanks to the Boardwalk Plaza for being the Bridge Podcast Network sponsor.
Welcome to Why Do Christians?
Is that you, John Hammond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, why do Christians believe in dinosaurs? Do they? Do they not? We're going to talk about cavemen.
Do dinosaurs believe in them?
We're going to find out. I'm Mark Dickey.
And I'm Burt Miller.
This is the Why Do Christians podcast. Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Mark Dickey. I host the afternoon show on the Bridge radio station. My co-host on the podcast is Pastor Burt Miller from Solid Ground Church. Burt, how are you today?
Mark Dodgson Dickey.
Dodson! We've got Dodson here! See, nobody cares.
Hold on.
That's a great Jurassic Park.
Thank you very much.
That was a deep cut.
Did I ever tell you? So my bestest friend in the whole wide world, Dr. Trey Clark, he was an extra on the Jurassic World film starring Chris Pratt, like the first one.
Wow.
Because they came and shot it. He's a veterinarian. They shot it near his zoo. And so we would chat while he would spend his days. He's one of the guys walking on the, above the raptor compound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's up there, and we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, you know what you should do? Like, he's just in the background. He has some lines. He's an extra. I was like, dude, you know what you should do? You should say classic lines from Jurassic Park 1 in the background to your fellow extras back there. And so they did. So everybody back there is mouthing these iconic lines from Jurassic Park 1 in the background of Jurassic World. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You'll have to show me where.
Okay, I can do that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, that's fiction. 100%. Jurassic Park, that's a movie, Burt.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about dinosaurs and where they fit into the Bible, if they fit into the Bible. Mm-hmm. We actually
it's hard to fit dinosaurs anywhere. They're giant. Folks, I disengaged Mark there with that one. So, come on back.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. We got an email. I almost said a letter.
We got a fossilized letter. Archaeologists.
The most archaic form.
It was the weirdest thing that somehow somebody millions of years ago.
Kim wrote on a cave.
Okay.
Caveman Kim. No. Okay.
We can't insult our listeners.
We can't. Kim, thank you for texting.
Civilized and I'm sure great, Kim.
She used a very futuristic form of communication.
Okay.
Kim says, good afternoon.
I'm sorry, just really quick. Futuristic email. It's 20 years old.
Text. I said text.
Oh, did she text it?
Yeah, she texted.
Okay. I'm sorry.
She says, good afternoon. How do Christians, which is not the name of the podcast, so we changed it.
I'm out.
How do Christians address the question of how do cavemen and dinosaurs fit into the timeline of the Bible?
Yeah.
Which is a great question, Kim. I mean, I think we've all seen movies like Jurassic Park, or we've been flicking through the channels and the History Channel pops on,
or Land Before Time,
or your favorite dinosaur franchise.
Yeah.
And you go, well, these people say that this happened 65 million years ago.
Right.
But I've never seen the years counted in the millions in the Bible. So how does this fit together?
Well, Mark, and Kim, wonderful Kim, not archaic Kim, but wonderful Kim.
Cretaceous Kim.
I'm sure she signed it that way. You don't sign text. I don't even know why I said. Wow. Anyway, how do Christians deal with the idea of dinosaurs and cavemen? There's not a unified stance on that. There are different schools of thought on it, right? So at the most extreme, there are fringe groups who believe that dinosaur fossils are conspiracies, that people actually planted them in the desert to sway people away from the truth of Scripture. And that's very fringe. Most of us don't think that, but there are groups that have have overtly taught that. Okay. Otherwise, I would say that the majority of views fall within one of two camps. Both are creationists, right? Because Christians believe that God created everything. But there's what's called a young earth creationist and an old earth creationist. Okay. So a young earth creationist, basically what they believe is that the earth as we know it is about 6,000 years old. Right. Okay. And so they think, okay, if you were to do the math in the Bible from Adam until I think it's Abraham, you get 2,000 years. You go from Abraham to Jesus, it's 2,000 years. And from Jesus to now, it's 2,000 years. So the earth is about 6,000 years old. And what they would say is dinosaurs fit within the creation narrative of Genesis 1. That they're just other animals that are created when it says, like, God created the different animals that go over the surface of the earth. They would say, oh, yeah, they're part of that. And sometimes what they'll then say is, okay, why they're not around? Well, they were actually after the flood. That's the Noah story in Genesis. That due to changes in the environment and lack of resources, that the dinosaurs became extinct. And so, young Earth creationists believe that dinosaurs and human beings existed at the same time. Old Earth creationists, they believe usually one of two things: either that Genesis, the creation story in Genesis, is figurative and not meant to give a literal 6 days and concrete sets of time, or they'll say that, all right, when it comes to the lineages of Adam to Abraham, when they'll say so and so is the father of so and so, that's untraceable because father could also mean ancestor of, and so the earth could be way older than 6,000 years. And so, if an old Earth creationist looks at the Genesis story as figurative, they would just say, yeah, dinosaurs lived, however many millions of years ago, and Genesis 1 is not meant to be taken as a literal account of creation. Now, so I'm not saying either is right or wrong in this. I'm not going to debate. That's not the purpose of this episode. But if we're just going to explain why Christians, or how they reconcile it, they're going to fall probably within one of those camps that I've just mentioned.
Okay. I feel like I bring this up every episode, but I think it's valuable. Do you think this is an open-handed or closed-handed belief in the Christian faith?
Yeah. Me personally, I think it's open-handed.
Open-handed meaning
let's clarify that. Yeah.
Somebody could...
Yeah, it doesn't mean like a slap.
It could be plucked. Open-handed meaning it could be... Well, somebody could pull it from the scriptures and... It could just be removed. And
it's not about removing. It's about room for disagreement.
Right? Sure.
Yeah. So like we would say within the faith, there are open-handed and closed-handed ideas, and the idea is that a closed-handed idea is like we can't disagree on this and still be in the same faith, right? So the belief that Jesus bodily died for our sin and rose from the dead. If you don't believe that, you're not a Christian.
I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
If you pull it out, the whole thing comes crumbling down.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of uncomfortable with the idea of getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
Like Trinity would be another one. Salvation by grace through faith. These are close-handed things. Open-handed would be, hey, we can disagree about predestination, right? To me, anyway, I would say that's open-handed. Okay. Like in terms of God's level of planning and how that works with human free will. The hand is open. We can disagree there and still be in the same faith. To me, a view on the literality of Genesis 1 is an open-handed issue. Mm-hmm. Now, just cards on the table. I'm a literal 6-day guy, like I am. I know literal 6-day guys that believe this is a close-handed issue. They believe that to say, all right, I interpret this passage different. They would say that that's actually the person doesn't believe in the Bible. And personally, I think that's extreme. But there are those who would say that, no, this is not open-handed and you're denying the reality of Scripture. I don't believe that. I think this is very open-handed.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you get anything from this episode, it's that this should not make or break your faith.
Really should not. No.
And if you repeat everything you hear in this episode to someone else and they disagree with you, it doesn't mean that they hate you.
Yeah.
Like you can agree to disagree on these things.
I would think so. Now, again, your church might say otherwise, and I don't want to
That's true.
rock
That's
the boat
true.
there, but
Yeah.
just where I sit, I would say I think this is something that we can disagree on.
Okay. So let's look into we always try to start with, what does the Bible say about this? And so if there's a mention of dinosaurs or cavemen in the Bible, like where would you look?
Oh man. Okay. So to understand this, there are different passages, and we have to, get some terms out of the way. All right. So, there are passages in the Old Testament that some believe the authors are talking about prehistoric animals, dinosaurs, that type of thing. So there are things they'll talk about. For instance, a Hebrew word called Leviathan. We'll translate it as Leviathan. Okay. And it's mentioned 6 times in the Bible. I'll give you probably the most famous time. This is in Job 40 verses 15 through 24. Something to know with Job is that in the original Hebrew, it's written as poetry. Like, that's not to say that it didn't really happen, but the way that Job describes things, it's very flowy, kind of word descriptive, because it's structured as Hebrew poetry. Okay. That's again not to say Job was a real guy or not. That's not. But just the way that the book is written, it's written as poetry. Okay. So that's why you've got this long thing where Job says in Job 40, starting in verse 15, he says, "Look at." Actually, I'm wrong. This is not Leviathan. This is Behemoth. Okay. So for instance, this idea of Leviathan in Isaiah chapter 27, verse 1, Isaiah says this: "In that day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan, the gliding serpent, Leviathan, the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea." And so, Isaiah is talking about this sort of famous ancient sea monster. Some people think it's a dragon, whatever. Some people go, "Oh no!" Like when they believed in dragons, they were talking about dinosaurs. Another one famously would be Job 40, starting in verse 15, where Job, he doesn't talk about Leviathan. He talks about another word, which is called Behemoth. This is what he says. He says, "Look at Behemoth, God's speaking, he says, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. With strength it has in its loins, and what power in the muscles of its belly." Now listen to the way it's described. Continuing verse 17. "Its tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are close knit." So you've got a tail that's as long as a tree, is the describer there. "Its bones are tubes of bronze. Its limbs are like rods of iron. It ranks first among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword. The hills bring it their produce, and all the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plants it lies, hidden among the reeds in the marsh. The lotuses conceal it in their shadow, and the poplars by the stream around it. A raging river does not alarm it. It is secure, though the Jordan should surge against its mouth. Can anyone capture it by the eyes, or trap it and pierce its nose?" So Job is describing this giant animal that kind of sounds like a dinosaur.
Yeah, that tail is a good descriptor, because I was immediately thinking, okay, what animal that I'm aware of could this be that would also be in that region, or at least close to it? I'm like, oh, it could be an elephant. No, elephants have tiny tails. Oh, it could be a rhino. Oh, rhinos have tiny tails.
Right. But this is something else. And again, like you've got Psalm 74, verse 13, where the psalmist says, "It was you," talking to God, "who split open the sea by your power." And listen to this: "You broke the heads of the monster in the waters." So, what you do with that, how literal or symbolic you're going to be, is going to depend on the camp that you fall. But these were passages that many would say that, all right, no, the Bible authors seem to have some awareness of dinosaurs. And whether they're around or not, again, that's a whole subject of debate, but that's stuff that you could glean. The Bible actually mentions dinosaurs.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't we didn't talk about cavemen.
Yeah.
Should we do that?
That was my next question.
Oh, then please fire away.
Let's talk about cavemen.
Okay, let's. Was that the question?
Yep.
Okay. Man. All right. So again, if we're looking at the different camps, the fringe group is going to say it's a conspiracy, that cavemen weren't real and that they're planted bones. Those are few and far between. An old earth creationist is going to say that cavemen were, they'll probably believe in a created, guided evolution. So they'll believe that God created everything and he used evolution to bring forward humankind. And so, Neanderthals and what have you would fall within that process. And then the young earth guys are going to say, no, cavemen were human beings. And what they probably were is that they were human beings who scattered. So there's a story in Genesis 11 where you've got this thing called the Tower of Babel, where humanity is divided, like different languages are instituted. Everybody scatters from this tower. And young earth creationists will probably say, listen, there are people who, after that scattering, they went and lived in caves. And, the way human biology works is human beings adapt to where they live. And so going into colder areas, going into the terrains that they were in, they adapted to be with that, but that they were still human beings. That's typically how that's going to be explained.
Yeah. I think the conversations in this podcast are mostly going to lean towards dinosaurs. That's the most of what we can speak on today.
Yeah, sure.
Cavemen and the, I guess, underdeveloped human.
Well, bro, to be fair, what's more interesting, dinosaurs or cavemen? I'm going dinosaurs every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if the Earth is young, then there's no time for cavemen, I guess, to, for humans to change that much. I mean, the people who find these fossils, these bones, these traces of dinosaurs and cavemen, they're convinced all of this stuff is real.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really hard as a Christian to be like, yeah, my belief system, like the Bible doesn't really talk much about this.
Right.
Like what are people supposed to do in that situation?
Well, I think really quick, like both of us, I think if this table would affirm that dinosaurs were real, I think.
Yeah, I don't deny that those are bones.
Right,
like
you're talking about like the age of it.
Yeah.
So am I understanding right? Like, but you're asking, okay, how do I reconcile that with a biblical? Like, help me understand a little bit more what you're asking.
I don't know. Maybe the Bible should have mentioned them more.
Oh, I see. Okay. So why is it not? Okay. So I think something to realize. Sometimes you hear people say that, like, the Bible's not a book of science; it's a book of faith. Mm-hmm. I think that's a dodge. I think the Bible is a book of life, right? Like, not the book of life, not where people's names are written into heaven, but like it's a book about life. Specifically, it's about God's relationship with humanity. All right. So everything in the Old Testament, everything in the New Testament is about God's plan of salvation with human beings. This is why I think in the beginning of Genesis, most people believe like that there's no mentioning of the fall of the angelic, because it's not part of the creation story of human beings. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say things that come up in the Bible only come up as they are relevant to God's relationship with people. The reason this is important is I think it's wrong to use the Bible as this will explain everything about everything, right? Like,
right.
I can't open the Bible and be like, this better teach me how to change the oil in my car. That's not the purpose of the book.
It's like watching, I don't know, the Avengers and being like, I'm just really disappointed that we didn't see Captain America's gym workout routine.
Yeah, we're watching the Avengers and being like, why are the characters from Bluey not in this? Like, that's just not what it is.
It's not the story. That's not the arc that's being told. This is God's relationship with man.
Yeah. And so the biblical silence, like if you think, all right, those verses I mentioned earlier aren't talking about dinosaurs, which is possible. That's very possible. Silence doesn't imply that dinosaurs didn't exist. It just means that like their existence is not central to the Bible's main points talking about salvation and our relationship with God.
It is fascinating though to think, okay, why is this creature described that I don't recognize today?
Sure.
So that is like, in theory, should be enough to say, okay, there were once creatures that are not here anymore.
Well, yes, that's possible. There are Bible scholars who would say that, like when Job mentions those, or the psalmist or Isaiah, that they're mentioning fabled creatures that were known in popular consensus, famous monsters, and that the point is that God is greater than any of them. Not saying that's right or wrong, but there are those who that's the viewpoint they would take. Sure.
This conversation brings into focus the hardship, the push, the pull, the tug that I think most believers have between science and faith, because we've been taught that they both can't work together.
Right.
It's you either Nacho Libre. I believe in science is what the guy says. Like when he's, have you been baptized? No, I believe in science. And that's the push and the pull that this world has. Like you can't do both.
Yeah. I mean, and if this is helpful, we did an episode on Christians and science a while back. Something that we said then.
I think I made that quote during that episode.
Oh, great. We're going to hammer it home. No, but something that I think we said then that we would again affirm is that science cannot give meaning. Science can only interpret. Right. So science cannot give the whys of things, and there are some areas and we talked about this episode, or in that episode, rejecting the idea of what's called secular humanism, which is this belief that basically like there's no God and it's all about human intellect, and if we just do enough research and discover enough, then like we'll be able to explain everything.
Yeah.
That's a religion in itself. Like that requires leaps of faith itself. So to say, all right, I can't see it, so therefore it doesn't exist. Nobody believes that. Even those who deny God, they have areas where they are taking leaps of faith. And we don't want to pretend that's not true of them. We don't want to pretend that's not true of us. But back to the idea of, okay, how do we reconcile faith and science? I think it's important to realize that faith and science can coexist, but both of them, whichever side of that you're going to lean to, there are going to be gaps where you're going to have to say, all right, I'm going to choose to trust this. I'm going to choose to trust that. So again, not to be too circular, but the episode that we did on this, one of the things that we brought up over and over again was this idea of some of the most formulative scientists in history were themselves believers, and they believed that their practice was a way to worship God because it let them appreciate more God's creation.
I read this in a science book. I think I was in 7th grade when I read it. It was just a middle school science textbook, and it just said this little excerpt that was early science was people trying to figure out how God did it.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so beautiful. I've never found that quote again, but it stuck with me that I could trust in things that people are finding and discovering and not go, oh no, my whole faith is shattered because they discovered this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I've personally encountered God in my life. I've shared stories in the podcast of and it's like, okay, I asked God to intervene in a situation, and he did.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care what you discover.
You can't take that.
You can't take that from me.
Yeah.
So maybe we just haven't figured out how the dots connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost as if God is much smarter than us and outside of our situation. So Bert, what can we send Kim and our other listeners away with after this episode? When the concept of cavemen or dinosaurs comes up, and I've been in this conversation so many times, and people can just belittle you so much, like, oh, you believe in that. Well, look at, let's go to the museum and let's look at the fossil. This is real. How do you explain this?
Right. Well, okay, let's talk about maybe what we can take away with knowledge and take away with practice and character. So I remember I was in a history class in high school, and I had a friend in the class who was, I believe, agnostic. And he just said, yeah, I don't believe in the Bible. And I just asked, okay, why? And he said, like, in front of the whole class, he's like, well, the Bible says dinosaurs didn't exist, and we know that's not the case. The Bible doesn't say that. Like, if anything, I mean, either it says that they existed or it's silent, but it doesn't say anything like that. And that's, I think, something that we've shown factually, like here's what's there or isn't there. Does that make sense? But when it comes to, okay, well, what do I say to my friend, my family member, my colleague who's challenging me on, the age of the earth or how dinosaurs could fit into it? Some of that will come into how you view young earth versus old earth. But the other part, I think, to realize is it's not bad to have humility. Like, it's not bad to say, hey, all right, so you're telling me that the earth is 6,000 years old, if that's where you land. Yeah, okay, then how, like, when did dinosaurs live? Man, I don't know. Well, here's this data that shows that, radiocarbon dating is showing this or showing that. Okay, yeah, but, I mean, could be. I don't know. Like, here's some sources that show that is unreliable. But you know what, man? I don't know. I think something that we can fall into as a pitfall is to just go like, all right, I've got to have the answer to everything. Right. And I don't think that's true. Yeah. Like, the truth is nobody, like, since the Bible's language about dinosaurs is either small or non-existent, that would mean that the faith does not rise and fall on it, and it shouldn't make or break somebody's decision to believe on the Lord. So I think it's okay. I don't know, but let's talk about you. Let's talk about, here's what I do know. Like, to quote the blind man in John. Here's one thing I do. Whether he's the Messiah or not, I don't know. But one thing I do know, I was blind and now I see. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't have all the answers for your stuff, but here's what I know. This is who I was. This is what Jesus did in my life. Here's what I do know. There's an empty tomb. And so, like, I think you don't have to have the answers to everything with that. But the other part is this. It is still fun to talk about. Like, sometimes we think, well, if I don't have the answer, I can't engage with it. No, God gave you a brain. Have fun. So at least that's what I think.
That's cool. Don't be lured into the trap of the argument. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kim, hopefully we answered your question. And if you have more questions, let us know. podcast@wearethebridge.org. This podcast is Bert and I's opportunity to just hang out and talk about Jesus. And we love when you get to be a part of the conversation in asking your questions. And so we thank you for listening. And until next time.